What's up, guys? Rob from the Razor's Edge here, and we're going to be doing a Griffith review video today on the black and green shadow. I've got the Paul Drees Dreifuss 6/8 razor, and originally I was going to show you guys the whole bevel set on the caudicle. I just pulled out my Griffith caudicle and put a bevel set on this. But I figured, you guys have all seen enough bevel setting from other honing videos of mine, and the whole point behind this is to highlight these two stones. This is the set of the black and green shadow, and they're roughly about 2x8, and I've noticed a couple of things. One, there seemed to be some sort of discrepancy on the old write-ups on some of these stones versus the new write-ups, and which ones are finer and which one is not as fine. And I can tell you right off the bat that the green shadow is definitely the finer of the two. I've also found that these are a fairly hard slate, and even though I have a black shadow slurry stone, it takes a pretty decent amount of effort to draw up a slurry with these. So I'm just using my 600 Atoma, and like I said, I already set up the bevel, so I'm basically just going to get right into the black shadow and then transfer into the green shadow. Now, what I've noticed about these stones is that they have a really nice soft slate feel to them, just like some of the other slates that I own. So they do have a really nice feel to them, in my opinion. I would also have to say that for what you get on Griffith's website, these two stones are a pretty darn good deal for the money and the size that you're getting. Very comfortable stones to work on. And this particular razor, like I said, I already set the bevel on my Griffith caudicle. It also recommends on Griffith's website that you can obviously use synthetic progression, but it basically is recommending that you go up to more or less an 8K progression. So however you get to that is entirely up to you. But the black shadow is going to put you in the 8 to 10K range, and then the green shadow is going to put you from the 10 to 15K range, depending on how you use the stones. So what I'm doing off of my caudicle is working a slurry, diluting that slurry down, similar to a Delicate, and I'll be doing the same thing on the green shadow, and just working probably a lighter slurry on the green shadow, and then taking it out to soapy water. Regular water passes first usually, and then soapy water, and then if I want to go any further, using a ONR solution or an oil or something like that, I'll make that decision. But I've already played around with these stones a bit, and I can tell you right now, when I'm done with that green shadow, it pretty much puts an edge on these razors that passes an HHT pretty well. So I'm going to probably just do soapy water. It's a possibility I might throw a little ONR solution in towards the end of that, and I want to test that edge just with that, without bringing it to oil. Personally, I like to see how far I can push a water edge and what it feels like, and then the next time I hone a razor, I'll do soapy water, and then I'll mess around with the ONR, and then sometimes I'll just go to oil. It just depends on what I feel like doing to test those edges, if I'm happy with it the way it is. So I know I don't have to do a ton of passes on this stone. I've already done a lot of the work on the caudicle to get it up to that 8K range, roughly. These are all just rough guidelines when I talk about grit ratings, because as we all know, natural stones don't really have a grit rating the way synthetics do. So it's more of a generalization than anything. So for anyone that's been watching these Griffith review videos, I'll just make mention of it one more time that Matt has given me a one-time 10% off code, and I'll always be adding that to my descriptions. So if I don't mention that in my videos, it's always in my description, but I will try to remember to make a small mention of that in all my videos from here on out. If I was to compare the feeling of this, like I said, it matches pretty much any other slate edge feeling that I've had. I've never shaved off of these stones, so I'm actually quite curious myself to see what the edge feels like and what kind of shaving edge that it actually provides. Based on other videos I've seen and other guys that have talked about these stones, they say that it's what you would expect from a slate, that's a pretty comfortable edge. So definitely looking forward to doing the shave with this. I'll probably do that shave tomorrow and upload that video shortly after this one, or not too far after this one. Just want to see where I'm at here with the packing peanut. I do a series of tests, the packing peanut. If I got tomatoes, sometimes I'll use those. The arm hair test. Alright, so as you guys can see, it's going right into that packing peanut pretty easily. So I know I'm in a acceptable range here. So I'm going to do a couple more passes on this very light milky slurry, and then we'll switch over to the green shadow, build a little bit of a slurry on that, and continue. At the end of this video, normally I would do some sort of a muting of the tip, but these round razors, I usually don't mute the tips on these. I just don't feel the need to. Every once in a while, I might have a razor with a round tip that gets a little pointy at the edges when I'm done honing. So this might not be the video. I had mentioned in one of my past videos that I was gonna just give you guys a rough idea of how I mute my edges or my heel and toe. But I probably won't do it to this razor. I mean, I could show you guys, but I'd rather do it on a razor I actually plan on muting. And this type of razor with the round nose, like I said, normally I usually don't. So all right, let's switch over to the green and continue this progression. I like to get everything cleaned off, the razor, the stone, etc., before I switch out. personally like to kind of dry them off a little bit before I set them aside. One thing I've noticed about these black shadows is, and green shadow, is that this sticker doesn't seem to be affected too much by water. So I'm going to imagine that it's some sort of vinyl, which is kind of cool, because some of these stones, when you get them, the stickers just come right off. And some guys like to seal those stickers in. Some guys don't care, you know, if they come off. So on that one, it's obviously just a personal preference. And like I said, I could use the slurry stone, but it really seems to take a minute, because these are pretty hard slate stones. They're French slates. And so far, I gotta be honest, I actually really like these stones. I thought about getting a set of these myself, but I already have a decent amount of slate style stones. And you know, personally, I don't feel the need to buy a set of these. But if I didn't have any slate stones, I would probably grab a set, because if you are just wanting to try these, that's one thing. But if you are the type of person that's honing on a budget, these really seem like a good option. So something to consider, you know. So at this point, I'm putting, I'd say, a light to medium pressure in the beginning of this stone with the slurry. And then as I dilute, I kind of lighten my touch. And then when I switch to water, and then I usually end on slate stones with soapy water. If I feel like it's not keen enough, like I said, I can always bring it back and run it for some more passes with an OPT or ONR solution, or some sort of an oil. But I found personally with slate stones that usually just ending on soapy water seems to do the trick. I know that not all slates are identical, so you know, it might vary from stone to stone, or slate to slate, I should say. I just want to check something, because I'm feeling something on the stone here. So I'm going to rinse this off and just build the slurry again. And if I feel something at the edge of the stone, I'll actually run my nail down it and see if my nail catches. Because if it's going to catch your nail, it's going to catch your edge. And that's definitely something that you want to try to avoid, if possible. So again, I'm just going to build a little bit of a slurry. I'm just going to hit that edge just a little bit, just in case. I didn't really feel anything, but better safe than sorry, right? And everyone's different when it comes to honing, but I like to keep the hand that's holding the razor dry. If I notice that hand getting wet, I like to dry it. I like to personally try to keep as much water out of the joint as possible. Yeah, that already feels better. So there might have been something on the stone or something on the edge that I was feeling. Another thing I wanted to mention is when you have a heel like this, or a shoulder, I should say, that sticks out, I always try to avoid that. The last thing, personally, I want to do is you know, keep hitting the stone with that shoulder, and you'll start to just mar that shoulder and put all kinds of marks and stuff in the metal. And I try to avoid that with razors that have a shoulder that sticks out. So I pay attention to each razor that I'm honing when it comes to that kind of thing, and I make sure that I'm not grinding that shoulder on the stone. It can also lift, that can make it lift off the stone, and you can trash your edge doing that as well. So that's one thing I've learned to pay attention to with certain razors. This one being one of those types of razors. So the cool thing about this progression, whether you're, like I said, setting yourself up with a synthetic or a Caticule, once you get to these stones, I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. It's pretty straightforward, you know, kind of what you have to do, you know. I just build a little slurry and slowly dilute that slurry back like a dollar cut on a Caticule, and just work it down. So I kind of treat slates similar to a Caticule, but that's just me. That's just my opinion. It seems to work for me. So one thing I've noticed about slates is they definitely start to dry out on the edges a bit. So I really like to try to keep the stone wet. I don't want to be on a wet surface and then all of a sudden run into a dry surface. So I'm just checking my tape here, making sure it's staying intact. So like I said, as I dilute, I'll start to kind of lighten my pressure. I usually always do that on my finish work. Had a discussion at a certain point with Eric, the CAJUN blade, and the only stone I'd say that I use personally that doesn't really fit that same description or description as far as what I do on the stone and how I finish on it is an Arkansas. There's other stones that are hard like an Arkansas, like a Vermont slate, which I also will be doing a demo on at some point. But those types of hard, you know, finish stones, you can apply, you know, some pressure on slower stones to get to your end goal a little quicker. But in my opinion, it can be a slippery slope. You just got to be careful with it. You can see I'm drying out again already. So we're just going to spray a little more. Lighten my touch just a little bit more. Let the stone do the work. And as I've said before, this is just a guiding hand. I do not put pressure with it. If I'm going to put any pressure, I'm putting the pressure on the edge of the bottom of the tang to torque the edge in. But at this point, I'm not even doing that. I'm just guiding and not putting any pressure with that left hand on the toe of the spine. I gotta say though, my first impression absolutely is that these stones have a really nice feel to them, and when I shave with this razor tomorrow, I'll be able to really have a full opinion of these stones, because you know, you really don't know until you shave with these edges, you know. Just gonna lap it one more time before I go into some water passes, and then I'll do some soap passes, and then that's pretty much it. I should be quote unquote pushing into the cloud at that point. So just gonna rinse this off. Make sure it's nice and flat for those final passes. Yeah, I'm sure I go overboard a little with the lapping, but I'm the type of person I'd rather be safe than sorry. Don't want to put in, you know, 10, 20, 30 minutes worth of work or more, and then all of a sudden you know, you've got something on at the edge of the stone, or something on the surface of the stone that's you know, messing your edge up. So I just like to be cautious with that. So I'm actually going to add a little bit of soapy water now, just to give it a little more cushion. And if you listen, you'll notice as soon as you go on slate with soapy water, it quiets the stone right down, because you're kind of riding on a cushion. When I get to this point, I am putting no pressure. I'm just letting the razor just glide across the stone and letting the stone do the work. So. Sorry if I bumped the camera in any of these honing videos. The way I'm currently positioning this so that you guys get a nice angle. I'm basically reaching around my camera mount here. So every once in a while when I back away from it, I try not to bump it, but sometimes it's unavoidable. I'm just going to check this edge real quick, because at this point I usually check on my arm here just to see how well it's yeah, you can hear it. So that's the first thing I do, is I listen to the sound, and then I'll pick a patch where there's any hair left, and just see how good it's shaving. And as you can see, it's shaving easily. So I know at this point, once it's shaving, you know, my arm all the way down to the skin, once I strop this thing out, it's going to be more than ready to shave. So I'm going to go ahead and stop right there. But that was just a quick little demo of these two stones, and my opinion of them. But until I do the shave, like I said, I really can't give a full opinion. So after tomorrow's shave, I can give you guys my full opinion and go from there. So I appreciate you guys joining me, and I will see you guys next time.